Welcome to the What If Ask AI channel. On this channel, we ask multiple AI services what if questions. The what if questions was made back in my childhood when I was asked to put all my questions in a binder because my family was tired of me asking them all the questions I had in mind. Now, later in the future, I'm taking the questions I made from my childhood and asking the AI services the questions and reviewing and judging their responses. I hope you enjoy this channel.
Welcome back to the What If Ask AI channel, and today we're looking at this question right here. What if you moved on the last day of school, then where your new destination is, it was the first day of school? As always, I have my two example of what if questions with answers to help give the AI services a example of what I'm looking for. And the AI services I'll be using today are ChatGPT, Copilot, Gemini, Perplexity, and Duck AI. So let's start with ChatGPT asking it the question, what if you moved on the last day of school, then where your new destination is located, it was the first day of school? All right, so ChatGPT's answer, it gave me two, but I'm only going to read the first one. That would be quite an interesting coincidence. You'd be finishing the school year in one place while arriving just in time to start the school year in another. Now let's ask Copilot that same question. Okay, so here's Copilot's answer for what if you moved on the last day of school, then where your new destination is located, it was the first day of school. The answer is, I'd say that's some wild timing. You'd finish one school year and jump straight into another without a break. That would take some serious energy. Okay, now to ask Gemini the question, what if you moved on the last day of school, then where your new destination is located, it was the first day of school. Okay, so here's Gemini's full response. That would feel like stepping into a bizarre, never-ending academic time loop. You would essentially become a real-world time traveler, experiencing the ultimate high of summer vacation freedom, only to be instantly dragged back to day one of syllabus week. How this would actually play out depends on why the schedules are so different. The hemisphere hop, most likely, if you moved from the northern hemisphere, like the US, where the school ends in May or June, to the southern hemisphere, like Australia or New Zealand, where the school year begins in January or February, you would completely skip your summer break. You trade your final report card for a brand new backpack overnight. The extreme weather shift. Some regions around the world alter their school calendars drastically to avoid monsoon seasons or extreme winter weather. Moving between these zones could easily cause a calendar clash. The verdict. It would be an absolute psychological roller coaster. One day you're clearing out your locker and saying goodbye to your friends, and the very next day you're sitting in a new classroom doing icebreaker games. On the bright side, you would definitely win the award for the most dramatic what I did this summer story, even if your summer only lasted the duration of a flight. Okay, now to ask Perplexity that same question. What if you moved on the last day of school, then where your new destination is located, it was the first day of school? All right, so here's Perplexity's answer. That would feel like you skipped summer entirely, kind of like finishing one chapter and instantly being dropped into the next without a break. It might be a bit overwhelming, but also a fresh start right away in a new place. Let's ask Duck AI that same question. What if you moved on the last day of school, then where your new destination is located, it was the first day of school? All right, here's Duck AI's response. If you moved on the last day of school and your new destination was just starting its first day of school, then you would leave school A at the end of its term and arrive at school B on its first day. Practically, you miss school B's orientation and early activities that happened before you arrived, but you'd still be there for the entire remainder of the year. Socially, classmates at school B are meeting and forming connections. Entering then may make it harder to join established friend groups, but it's also an opportunity to meet many new people at once. Administratively, you would likely enroll mid-process, bring records from school A, report card, immunizations, transcripts, and expect some additional paperwork and possible placement testing at school B. Academically, curricula might be at slightly different points. You may need to catch up on material already covered at school B or adapt if school A covered topics in a different order. Emotionally, expect mixed feelings. Loss from leaving peers at school A, plus the excitement or anxiety of starting among students who are beginning together. Brief practical checklist. Get transcripts and immunizations records and school ID from school A. 2. Contact school B's administration before arrival to confirm enrollment steps. 3. Ask about placement test and bring syllabus and notes from school A. 4. Introduce yourself to teachers and counselors early to explain your timing. And then 5. Join extracurriculars or orientation events to meet peers quickly. Okay, now I have my ranking for the AI systems, specifically 1 being the best and 5 being the worst out of all the AI services. So at number 5, I have ChatGPT. Honestly, the reason I put ChatGPT as number 5 was because it was rudimentary. It just had like 2 sentences. It would just say it was an interesting coincidence. And it kind of mentioned what the question already mentioned before was you'd be finishing the school year in one place while arriving just in time to start the school year in another, but it doesn't give any like comment about how that would affect you or anything like that. It just said it would be a coincidence. So that's why I put it as number 5. For number 4, I have Copilot. And the reason I put Copilot as number 4 was because it said it would take some real energy or serious energy in order to really start one school year and then immediately start another. So that's why I put it as number 4, because of that line it had in there. And then number 3, I had Duck AI for number 3. And the reason I gave number 3, the reason I gave Duck AI as number 3 is because it did mention a lot of things about how this would affect a person if they left a place and it was the last day of school and they immediately started another school year at their new location. The reason I put it at number 3 was because it mentioned all these effects, such as, meeting new classmates and then you having to catch up because they've already had like open house or orientation or anything like that. That's the reason I put it as number 3. It also gave a checklist. I wasn't really expecting that. I didn't feel like that was necessary for the answer, so that's why I put it as number 3. And then at number 2, I have Perplexity. And the reason I put Perplexity as number 2 was when I thought of this question for my youth, I was really thinking about it in the context of like summer. You're starting school in the summer basically because usually the school year ends in the US in about May or June. So I like that it mentioned that. And then it also mentioned that it might be a bit overwhelming. So I also mentioned that as well. So that's why I put Perplexity as number 2. And then number 1, I put Gemini. And the reason I put Gemini in there was because it mentioned how the school year ends in May or June, kind of like I mentioned before with Perplexity, and how that would basically you would be starting the school year early based on where you were last time. So like it also mentioned at the beginning that you would become a real world time traveler, and I kind of felt like that would be a real thing. And then also I liked how it said at the verdict part that would be an absolute psychological roller coaster. I know if I had to do something like that, I would be pretty burnt out, basically. I would end school, and then the very next day I'm starting a whole another year, no break, no nothing. I would be exhausted. So that's why I put Gemini as number 1. So again, my order is the following. ChatGPT is 5, Copilot is 4, Duck AI is 3, Perplexity is 2, and Gemini is 1. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.